Welcome to the October edition of 71 Magazine. I'm your host, John Bryanton, and joining me in this studio today is Renee Jones, who is the Public Relations and Communications Manager with Kenergy, and also Randy Ducate, who is a lineman with Kenergy. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you.
We got a lot of information to get through here. So Randy, I'm going to start with you first. You know, when I'm driving through the countryside, you know, I inevitably come to a stop sign or something, I see a utility pole. And it looks like people have, there must be 1,000 staples in it, there must be hundreds of nails in it, and so forth. Is this something that is kind of dangerous for you as a lineman?
Yes, it is. It can, like when we're climbing, the nails and the signs, it can cause our gas to, kick out and cause you to fall, or it can nick hose, small pin holes in your rubber gloves and your sleeves and cause them not to, perform right when you're doing hot work. And
So in other words, let's say you're climbing a pole, and these safety gloves that we're going to show later, let's just say it nicks and rips a hole in it. Mm-hmm. What can happen to you?
Well, if you're actually doing hot work, it can, they cannot work right. It can cause you to be electrocuted.
How many volts are we talking about here?
7,200 volts.
7,200 volts that would go through you, and that would kill you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a serious problem then, obviously, and we talked about this before. Every time, it's just amazing that the number of, they use these things for billboards, they use them for garage sale signs, things of that nature. Well, outside of the lineman, which is obviously important, is it a safety hazard just for the general public?
Sure, yeah. I've seen people hang their own security lights on our poles, less than 5 feet from energized equipment at 7,200 volts. So.
What are some of the other crazy things? You got to share this, because you told me about some of the other crazy things you've seen.
Deer stands.
Deer stands.
Satellite dishes.
I just find that amazing that people would even at any point think that they could hang a satellite dish from a utility pole. Renee, who owns these poles?
Kenergy owns the poles. They're not really public in the sense of like a public parking lot at a public building. Those poles are owned by Kenergy members. And of course, it's probably Kenergy members who are hanging things on them, because a lot of them are on Kenergy members' property. But that doesn't mean that because you're a member, you can hang anything on there.
Right.
It's really not, it shouldn't be considered public property. It is owned by the co-op. It's really important for our members' safety and the public's safety that they don't climb those poles and get near that high voltage equipment and those power lines. A good rule of thumb is never get closer than 10 feet to an energized power line, and that's at a minimum. So it's dangerous to the public. Those are Kenergy poles, and they shouldn't be hanging anything on them. Not garage sale signs,
Right.
Not anything.
Well, let's just say, Randy, that you're deep in the county and you're get ready to climb a pole, and you come across a deer stand. What do you have to do with that? I mean, you literally have to take that down, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
The same thing with a satellite dish. You've got to remove it.
Yes, sir.
So it's probably very smart not to put it up to begin
Right.
with.
It just takes extra time.
Okay.
If people's lights are off, it's just that much longer it takes us to get it restored.
And it's also another safety issue that, for you to have to deal with. So, Renee, we're kind of talking about utility poles and electrical infrastructure. Give us some more general guidelines about electrical safety.
Electrical safety is a huge issue, more so probably in summertime, because we have people out working in their yards with extended pole saws. We have people with pool skimmers, and those are long. Extension ladders. People are out cleaning their gutters and doing all types of things with this long equipment. And we tend to carry those things like this. We tend to carry them vertically. Well, power lines, overhead power lines, the place at my home where the power line is its very lowest is over my patio where it enters my house, where the power line enters my house. So if I'm carrying an umbrella, and I'm talking about a patio umbrella or just anything across there like this, it can come into contact with energized power lines, and you can be killed. So it's really important. We're supposed to carry those things horizontally. until we get to where we want to do our work.
Right.
And then really look up. We tell our members and the general public all the time, look up, know where power lines are located where you live, work, and play. Because work comes into it too. Electrocutions, construction workers, electrocutions, I think it was like 60-some construction workers were electrocuted last year in the U.S.
Wow.
So look up. Before you set up that ladder or extend that pole saw or whatever you're going to do, ask yourself, am I going to be at least 10 feet from that power line? You can always call Kenergy and have us disconnect your electricity while you or a contractor at your home does work around that power line. Always be safe.
Yeah. You know, it's I'll be real honest with you, electricity scares me to death. It really
too.
does. There's
And
not
it should.
there's only a few things. I don't like needles and I don't like snakes and I hate electricity. Really, electricity, you know, I'm the type of guy where if I have to change a light bulb, I think maybe I should like shut the power down in the house or something. It worries me that much. And I know plugs, you can get electrocuted. It could be fatal too, even just a regular outlet in your house. I mean, so another thing, Randy, I want to talk to you very briefly about is just describe some of the clothing and the equipment that you all have to wear. We're going to be showing a picture of you dressed up in this equipment, but let's talk about the gloves.
Well, they're just rated, you know, to handle the voltage where we can work, you know, do things hot. And we have sleeves that go over our shoulders just to help from accidental contact on your, like the back of your elbow or anything like that. Of course, we have to have fire retardant clothing, safety glasses, hard hat.
Okay. And all of that in 97-degree weather. I imagine it gets a little warm out there, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, that safety equipment obviously is very important for the safety of all the linemen. And I'm sure that you all go through training and things of that nature, probably a lot of training, continuous training, just to make sure that everyone stays safe. Renee, tell us a little bit about the Lookup program that you have, a little bit more about that.
Look up. It started basically for farmers because about 25 times every year on average, Kenergy farmers or Kenergy members who are farmers get caught in guy wires and pull down poles and power lines. They get their overhead equipment caught in our power lines. And so the Look Up campaign was look up and know where power lines are located, where you live, work, and play. When you're out in a field, before you go out there and do your work, make sure you know where our infrastructure is located. And the reason, of course, it causes outages, unnecessary outages every year across Kenergy territory. But the big thing is, and we just had one a couple weeks ago, a farmer was out in a field in a combine and he pulled down a power line on his combine. So you always have to remember that those are potentially deadly circumstances. If you do pull down a power line on your combine or your tractor or anything, if you have a wreck and you hit a power pole and the power line comes down on your vehicle, do not get out of your vehicle.
Oh, you can trust me, I won't.
Yes. Don't do that. Now, there are times when the vehicle catches on fire and you have to get out of your vehicle. Well, then you open the door, you stand at the threshold of the door, and you jump out and you hop, both feet hitting the ground at the same time, away from the power line. And we have a video on YouTube, a Kenergy video, that shows you how to do it.
Right.
But when that power line comes down, call 911. Nobody is going to remember Kenergy's number, 800-844-4832. Call 911, tell them you've pulled down a power line, and they'll call Kenergy, and Kenergy's dispatch, they'll turn off that power. They'll de-energize that line, and then they'll send somebody out to help you.
Okay, over the past several winters, we've had really we've experienced larger and really longer outages than maybe what we've had in the past. Do you have a preparedness message for our viewers?
Yes. We call it the first 72 is on you. And you're a Kenergy member. We want you to be prepared to spend at least 72 hours without all essential services. And that doesn't mean that if your electricity goes out, that it's going to be out for 72 hours. We have some members who think that we're telling them that if we turn your electricity off or an ice storm comes, you're going to be out at least 72 hours. No, it means that we want you to be prepared. We want you to have extra water. Medications. You may not be able to get to the store, so you need to have extra medication. We want you to have non-perishable food items. Stash some extra cash. If you have another ice storm, or if we have a tremendous earthquake, which is probably the worst thing that could happen.
Absolutely.
Then you may not be able to get any cash out of an ATM because they require electricity.
Right.
Make sure your car in the wintertime doesn't fall below a quarter tank of gas. These are little simple things that can make your life just a whole lot easier. You know, don't burn candles. That's a fire hazard. Use flashlights.
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay.
And we want you to be prepared. The Public Service Commission in Kentucky charged utility companies with helping their members and customers be prepared in case we do have large outages.
Okay. When, it's always been curious to me, when the power goes out, and I mean it could be a neighborhood, it could be a whole area, what is actually the method or process to restoring that power?
Do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to?
Well, like in a big storm, like the ice storm,
Yeah.
you got to have power to the substations first, or you
Okay.
don't have, to get anything, and then you kind of start from the subs out, getting your three-phase lines on and
Okay.
things like that gets the most people on the quickest you can, and then you got some people that live, out on the end of single-phase lines that, they get unfortunate to be one of the last ones, that we work on. But we usually do the jobs that we can do the quickest to get the most people on.
Okay.
And like, of course, hospitals
Right.
and stuff like that. All co-ops will have to try to get those places on.
Do you have
first
like a
too.
list of people who may be on like oxygen and medical equipment that kind of becomes a priority for you?
We do have that list, and Randy can verify. Almost every feeder at Kenergy has someone who's living on it who has had his or her doctor fill out a form.
Oh, okay.
And they have to register that form with Kenergy, and it says that they have a medical need for electricity,
Okay.
like an oxygen
Right.
tank. Well, that being the case, it's impossible for us to guarantee that your lights are going to come on before your neighbors just because
Right.
you have a medical form with us.
Right.
We know that you're out there, we know that you have a medical need, but it still is incumbent upon the member to have either a generator or to have an alternative place to go during an outage. And it would be good if it's a place that isn't on Kenergy service, because during the ice storm we had 50,000 of 55,000 members without power.
Wow.
So it could be that our whole system is down, and you need to have an alternative place to go where you can be guaranteed that you'll have electricity when you need it. The problem is with almost every feeder at Kenergy having someone with a medical need, of course there's no way we can, there's no magical way
Right.
that
Right.
we can turn on John Bryanton's
Right.
electricity. We've got to take care of hospitals, critical facilities
Sure.
first. There is a method to restoring power.
Right.
And if you are one of those little onesies or twosies out on the end of the line, like Randy said, then it's going to take longer for your power to be restored.
Right.
And all our members need to be cognizant of that.
Okay. Kenergy has several ways that members can stay in touch with their cooperative in case of an event. Share those with our viewers, if you would.
Sure. Twitter and Facebook, they're huge with us right now. We have 3,600 or close to 3,600 likes on Facebook. During any given outage, I put information on Facebook and Twitter up to every 15 minutes, depending on the size of the outage.
Right.
If we have 8,000 members out, I'm going to be up there constantly updating people so they know what's going on.
Okay.
So that is a wonderful way, and it doesn't require electricity. You can use your smartphone and see our Facebook page and read our Twitter messages.
Okay.
So that's a good way. Of course, our 800 number is 800-844-4832, and that's a way that you can get in touch with us, but that's only during business hours, 7:30 to 4:30. Now you can call and turn in an outage after that, but you won't get a person.
Right.
We're on YouTube, and a lot of people don't know that we have probably 20 to 30 YouTube videos about electrical safety, energy efficiency, all types of things.
Okay.
And so people can look at us on there, and now you can text in outages to Kenergy by texting the word Kenergy to 85700. And then when your electricity is out, all you have to do is type the word out to 85700, and it immediately goes into dispatch. It's probably the fastest way to turn in an outage.
Okay. Well, listen, we're out of time. You got to come back. We've got a lot. I got 100 more questions that I could ask both of you about just electrical safety and so forth. But thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be up next with Rick Shanklin, who is with the National Weather Service out of Paducah, Kentucky. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.